Explore the secret dynamics between good, evil, and spiritual warfare. Imagine this: you're standing on a battlefield. The air is thick with tension, and the clash of unseen forces echoes around you. But here's the twist: you're not just a bystander. You're right in the middle of it, holding the power to sway the tide. The battleground is your soul. And the war? It's one that rages between good and evil, light and darkness, truth and deception. Now, let's stop for a moment. Have you ever truly asked yourself, what role do I play in this eternal struggle? Am I a warrior for good? Or have I unknowingly become a pawn in the hands of something darker? This isn't just a dramatic metaphor, it's reality. Every choice we make, every thought we entertain, and every action we take contributes to this grand cosmic dynamic. Let me take you on a journey where we explore the hidden mechanics of good and evil and how they manifest in our everyday lives, often disguised as mundane decisions or fleeting emotions. We often think of good and evil as abstract concepts, locked away in ancient texts or theological debates. But the truth is, they are closer than we imagine, woven into the fabric of our daily lives. Picture this: an act of kindness in the face of hatred, or a moment of selfishness when generosity was an option. Each is a reflection of the forces vying for dominance in this unseen war. Let me share a story. There was a man. Let's call him David. David grew up in a neighborhood plagued by crime and despair. His father taught him to believe in justice and compassion. But the streets whispered a different tune, one of survival and selfishness. One day, David found himself at a crossroads. A close friend betrayed him, stealing from him and leaving him in financial ruin. David had two choices: seek vengeance, which seemed justified, or choose forgiveness, which felt impossible. Now, pause here. What would you have done in David's place? Be honest. David wrestled with his emotions, feeling the pull of anger and the subtle nudge of something greater, something that whispered, "Forgiveness sets you free." Not him. It took every ounce of strength. But David forgave. That single act didn't just change his life, it rippled outward, inspiring his community to embrace compassion over retribution. This is the secret: good and evil don't just exist, they act. They whisper to us, shaping our thoughts, guiding our hands, and influencing our hearts. But here's the catch: you have the final say. Let's get deeper. Have you ever wondered why evil often seems so alluring? Why does choosing the right path often feel like walking uphill while choosing the wrong one feels like gliding downhill? The answer lies in the nature of spiritual warfare. Evil offers instant gratification, comfort without cost, power without purpose. Good, on the other hand, demands patience, sacrifice, and a willingness to trust in something greater than yourself. Think about the story of Christ. He walked the earth as a living example of good. Yet he faced relentless opposition, tempted in the wilderness, betrayed by a friend, and crucified by the very people he came to save. Why? Because choosing good often means standing against the current, even when it feels impossible. But here's the paradox: it's in these moments of resistance that we find true strength, true purpose. Now, let me ask you something profound. When was the last time you truly fought for good, even when it cost you something valuable? You see, spiritual warfare isn't about swords or shields, it's about choices. It's about recognizing the subtle lies that try to lead you astray. You're not good enough. You'll never succeed. Just this once won't hurt. Lies like these plant seeds of doubt and distraction, pulling you away from your higher calling. But how do we fight back? The answer is simpler than you think, yet harder to practice: truth, love, and faith. These are your weapons. Truth cuts through lies like a sword. Love disarms hatred and fear. And faith? Faith is your shield, protecting you when the battle feels overwhelming. Let's bring it closer to home. Have you ever felt overwhelmed by guilt or regret, thinking you're too far gone to turn back? Let me tell you something, that's a lie. Evil thrives on convincing you that you're powerless, that your mistakes define you. But here's the truth: every step you take toward good weakens the grip of evil in your life. Redemption is always one choice away. Take a moment and reflect. What is one area in your life where you feel the pull of darkness? What's stopping you from turning toward the light? In this battle, perspective is everything. What we often see as struggles or failures are actually opportunities to grow stronger. Think of a tree battered by the wind. Its roots dig deeper. Its trunk grows sturdier. Likewise, every challenge you face in this spiritual war is an invitation to dig deeper into your purpose and values. Here's a practical takeaway: start small. Good and evil don't just show up in grand gestures, they live in the details. The way you treat a stranger, the thoughts you entertain when no one is watching, the words you speak when you're angry. Pay attention to these moments, because they are the building blocks of your character. And remember, you're not alone in this fight. Look around. Who inspires you? Who do you trust to guide you when the battle feels too heavy? Lean on them. We're stronger together. And every act of goodness creates a ripple, pushing back the darkness. Now, let me leave you with this question to ponder until we meet again. If you knew that every decision you made today could tip the scales of good and evil, how would you live differently? The unseen forces shaping every choice you make. Let's dive deeper. Imagine waking up tomorrow morning with the ability to see beyond the physical, into the unseen realm where every choice, every intention, and every action you make creates ripples that affect this spiritual battlefield. What would you see? And more importantly, what would you do differently? This isn't just a mental exercise. Whether we realize it or not, every moment of our lives is shaped by forces beyond our immediate perception. Think about the last time you faced a moral dilemma. Maybe it was something small, like deciding whether to help a stranger in need, or something life-changing, like choosing between personal gain and doing the right thing. What influenced your decision? Was it logic, emotion, fear, or faith? Or was it something deeper, something unseen, pulling the strings behind the scenes? Here's the profound truth: our choices don't exist in isolation. They are influenced by forces that want to shape us into who we are becoming, either for good or for evil. And make no mistake, the stakes are incredibly high. Let me ask you something deeply personal. When was the last time you felt pulled in two directions? Knowing what was right but feeling drawn towards something easier or more appealing? What did you choose? And why? The world we live in is designed to distract us. It bombards us with messages that appeal to our desires, fears, and insecurities. Advertisements promise happiness if we buy more. Social media convinces us that our worth is tied to likes and followers. And all the while, the subtle forces of darkness whisper lies: you're not enough. You'll never have enough. You're better off alone. But here's the twist: the forces of good work just as persistently, though often quietly. A sudden feeling of compassion for a stranger, the unshakable pull to apologize for a wrong, the inner peace that comes when you choose generosity over greed. These aren't just random emotions, they're signs of something far greater at work within you. One of the most profound teachings of Christ speaks directly to this battle. The kingdom of heaven is within you. Have you ever truly considered what that means? It suggests that the ultimate battleground for good and evil isn't out there in the world, it's inside you. It's in your heart, your mind, and your spirit. And the choices you make, no matter how small, are acts of war in this spiritual conflict. Let me share another story with you. This one is about a woman named Sofia. She worked tirelessly to climb the corporate ladder, sacrificing her time, her relationships, and even her health for success. One day, she met a man who had lost everything: his job, his family, his home. Instead of brushing him off, something inside her stirred. She bought him a meal and sat down to hear his story. What she learned shocked her. He was once just like her, driven by ambition but blind to the deeper purpose of life. That encounter changed Sofia. She realized she had been fighting the wrong battles. Her pursuit of wealth and status wasn't inherently evil, but it had blinded her to what truly mattered: love, connection, and service. She began to ask herself daily, am I choosing to build the kingdom of heaven within me? Or am I surrendering to the emptiness of the world? Now, ask yourself, what kingdom are you building within yourself? What are you fighting for? The unseen forces shaping our choices thrive on patterns. If we're not intentional, we fall into habits that reinforce either good or evil. Think about your daily routines. How often do you pause to reflect on your choices? How often do you act out of habit rather than intention? Here's a practical challenge for you. Take one day, just one, and examine every decision you make. From the way you greet someone in the morning to how you spend your free time at night. Ask yourself, is this decision moving me closer to love, truth, and light? Or is it pulling me into selfishness, fear, and darkness? This exercise might seem simple, but it's transformative. You'll begin to notice the subtle ways the forces of good and evil influence you. A harsh word you're tempted to say when someone frustrates you. A kind gesture you consider but hesitate to act on. Each moment is a choice. And each choice is an opportunity to tip the scales. But let's go deeper. Have you ever considered that every choice you make doesn't just affect you? It creates ripples that touch the lives of others. Your decision to forgive someone can inspire them to forgive someone else. Your act of kindness can spark a chain reaction of generosity. And conversely, your decision to spread negativity can darken the lives of countless people. This interconnectedness is both humbling and empowering. It reminds us that our actions matter, even when no one is watching. And it challenges us to rise above our selfish desires and embrace the higher calling of love and service. Think about Christ's life. He didn't just preach about love and forgiveness, he lived it. He washed the feet of his disciples, healed the sick, and forgave those who crucified him. And in doing so, he showed us what it means to fight for good in a world filled with darkness. Let me ask you again, what would your life look like if you chose to embody these principles every day? How would it change the way you see yourself and others? Here's the hard truth, fighting for good isn't easy. It requires courage, humility, and unwavering faith. But it's also the most rewarding battle you'll ever fight. Because every act of goodness, no matter how small, is a victory in the unseen war for your soul. So, what will you choose? Will you let the forces of darkness shape your life? Or will you rise above and embrace the light within you? The eternal ripple effect, how every choice shapes eternity. Let's start with a profound thought. if every action you take sends ripples into eternity? How carefully would you choose your next step? This isn't just an abstract question. It's the heart of understanding the secret dynamics between good, evil, and spiritual warfare. We often think of our choices as confined to the here and now. But in reality, their impact stretches far beyond what we can see. Like a pebble dropped into a still lake. Every action, whether good or evil, creates waves that travel outward, touching lives, shaping futures, and influencing the world in ways we may never fully understand. Think about it. When someone chooses to love instead of hate, to forgive instead of retaliate, or to give instead of hoard, they create ripples of goodness that spread far and wide. Likewise, when someone succumbs to anger, greed, or despair, they unleash ripples of darkness that can stain lives and perpetuate cycles of pain. Let me ask you something deeply personal. What kind of ripples are you creating in your life right now? Are they ones you'll be proud of when you look back? Or do they carry regret? The fascinating thing about this ripple effect is that it transcends time and space. You may never know how a simple act of kindness, a word of encouragement, a helping hand, might change the trajectory of someone's life. And yet, these moments matter deeply. They are the building blocks of eternity. Let's take a moment to revisit one of the most powerful stories from the teachings of Christ, the parable of the Good Samaritan. In this story, a man is beaten and left for dead on the side of the road. Religious leaders pass by, too preoccupied or indifferent to help. But then, a Samaritan, a man from a group despised in that culture, stops. He not only tends to the man's wounds but also ensures he has a place to recover. Now, think about the ripples that act of compassion must have created. The injured man's life was saved, and his heart was likely forever changed by the kindness of a stranger. But it doesn't stop there. Imagine the stories he shared with his family and friends, spreading hope and inspiring others to act with love and courage. The Samaritan's choice to help didn't just change one life, it influenced countless others. Here's a question for you. When was the last time you went out of your way to create ripples of goodness? Even when it was inconvenient? Evil, on the other hand, thrives on creating ripples of fear, division, and despair. It often begins subtly, a harsh word here, a selfish act there. Over time, these small acts accumulate, feeding cycles of negativity that can spiral out of control. This is why spiritual warfare is so critical. Every choice you make, no matter how small, either strengthens the forces of good or gives power to the forces of evil. But here's the good news: the ripple effect of good is infinitely more powerful than that of evil. Light, no matter how small, always pierces the darkness. A single candle can illuminate an entire room. In the same way, one act of kindness, one moment of forgiveness, can begin to unravel even the deepest cycles of pain. Let me tell you about a man named Marcus. He grew up in a household filled with anger and abuse. For years, he carried that pain, lashing out at others and perpetuating the cycle of harm. But one day, someone showed him a different way. A mentor took him under their wing, teaching him about forgiveness and the power of choosing good over evil. Slowly, Marcus began to change. He not only broke the cycle in his own life but also became a mentor to others, helping them find healing and hope. Marcus's story is a testament to the truth that no matter how far the ripples of darkness have spread, they can always be overcome by the ripples of light. Let's make this practical. The next time you face a choice, big or small, ask yourself, what kind of ripple will this create? Will it bring more love, peace, and hope into the world? Or will it feed fear, division, and despair? This kind of intentional living isn't easy. It requires constant awareness and a willingness to confront the darker parts of ourselves, the selfishness, the pride, the fear. But it's also deeply rewarding. Because every time you choose good, you're not just shaping your own destiny, you're shaping the destiny of the world around you. Now, let me ask you one more question. What legacy do you want to leave behind? When your ripples have traveled their full course, what do you hope they will say about the life you lived? Here's the truth, the secret dynamics between good, evil, and spiritual warfare are not just about external forces battling for control. They're about the choices we make every day and the power we have to tip the scales toward light or darkness. So, what will you choose? Will you let the forces of good flow through you, creating ripples of love, hope, and transformation? Or will you allow the forces of darkness to take root, spreading fear and division? The choice is yours. And it's a choice you make with every thought, every word, and every action. As we close this journey, I want to leave you with one final challenge. Take one bold step today to create a ripple of goodness. It could be as simple as forgiving someone who hurt you, reaching out to someone in need, or speaking truth in a situation where lies have taken root. Whatever it is, do it with courage, knowing that your choice matters more than you could ever imagine. And remember, you are not alone in this battle. The forces of good are with you, guiding you, and cheering you on every step of the way. So go forth and create ripples that will echo into eternity. The ultimate choice, how to live as a warrior for good. Let's begin this final leg of the journey by asking a question that cuts to the core. What does it mean to truly live as a warrior for good? Is it about heroic deeds? Or is it something far more subtle, yet infinitely more profound? Living as a warrior for good isn't about grand gestures or public recognition. It's about a deep, unwavering commitment to align your life with the forces of light and truth. It's about choosing love over hate, courage over fear, and faith over doubt. Not just once, but in every moment, every breath. Imagine a day in your life where every decision you make flows from this alignment. You wake up and thank the universe, or God, for the gift of another day. You speak kindly to the people around you, even when they test your patience. You work with integrity, even when no one is watching. You pause to help a stranger, even when you're in a hurry. Now, consider this: if you lived every day like this, what kind of person would you become? What kind of world would you help create? Let me share a story about a man named Elias. He was an ordinary person, working a 9-to-5 job, raising a family, and trying to make ends meet. But Elias had one extraordinary habit: he treated every interaction as an opportunity to spread good. He would smile at strangers, listen deeply to his children, and offer encouragement to his co-workers. These small acts didn't seem like much, but over time, they created a powerful ripple effect. One day, Elias's neighbor, someone who had always seemed cold and distant, knocked on his door. She told him she'd been struggling with loneliness and depression, but that his small acts of kindness had given her hope. That moment changed Elias forever. He realized that being a warrior for good didn't require wealth, power, or extraordinary talent. It required only a willing heart and the courage to act. Now let's turn inward. What does your heart tell you about your role in this battle between good and evil? Are you living fully aligned with your higher purpose? Or are there areas where fear, pride, or distraction hold you back? This is where the true challenge lies. Evil doesn't always appear as a roaring lion, more often. It sneaks in as a whisper of doubt, a seed of selfishness, or a moment of apathy. It tells you, you're too tired to help. It won't make a difference anyway. Someone else will do it. But these lies are designed to keep you from stepping into your power as a force for good. So how do you fight back? How do you equip yourself to stand firm in this spiritual war? The first weapon is awareness. Pay attention to your thoughts and actions. Notice the moments when you feel pulled toward darkness, whether it's anger, greed, jealousy, or despair. Recognize these as opportunities to choose differently. The second weapon is intention. Set a clear, daily intention to live as a warrior for good. Write it down. Say it out loud. Or meditate on it each morning. Let it guide your actions throughout the day. The third weapon is connection. You are not meant to fight this battle alone. Surround yourself with people who inspire and uplift you. Seek out communities that share your commitment to living a life of purpose and love. Together, you are stronger than you could ever be alone. Let me ask you this: who are the people in your life that inspire you to be better? How can you strengthen those connections and draw from their wisdom and support? Now, let's talk about faith. Faith is the anchor that keeps you grounded and the battle feels overwhelming. It's the belief that even when the forces of darkness seem to prevail, the light will always triumph in the end. This doesn't mean blind optimism, it means a deep, unshakable trust in the goodness of the universe and your role within it. One of the most powerful acts of faith is to keep choosing good, even when it feels futile. Think about Christ on the cross. In his darkest hour, when it seemed like all was lost, he chose to forgive. That single act of love in the face of unimaginable suffering became the ultimate victory over evil. What would it look like for you to practice that kind of radical faith in your own life? Let me leave you with this practical challenge for the next 7 days. Live as though every moment is a spiritual battlefield. Choose love, kindness, and truth in every interaction. Reflect each evening on the ripples you created that day. And above all, trust that your efforts, no matter how small, are part of a much larger story, one where good ultimately prevails. As we bring this journey to a close, I want to leave you with one final thought: you were born for this. You were created to be a warrior for good, to shine light into darkness, and to leave the world better than you found it. Every choice you make matters. Every act of love, every moment of courage, and every step toward truth is a victory in the unseen war for your soul. So go forth boldly, knowing that you are part of something far greater than yourself. What will you choose today? How will you live as a warrior for good? The battle is waiting, and the world needs your light. Go. Fight. Shine.